Imagine a country that lost a war, had its cities destroyed, had almost no natural resources, and still came back to shape the future of the world. This is Japan. A country of islands, earthquakes, mountains, crowded cities, old temples, neon streets, bullet trains, anime, robots, cameras, cars, game consoles, and some of the most precise factories on Earth. Japan is not the loudest superpower. It does not dominate the internet like America. It does not control cheap manufacturing like China. It does not sit on endless oil like the Middle East. But Japan controls something much quieter, the details, and in the modern world, details are everything. The sensor in your camera, the battery chemistry in your car, the factory robot welding a frame, the machine part inside a chip plant, the lens in a medical device, the game console in your living room, the hybrid system inside a Toyota, the anime character printed on a shirt in Los Angeles. Japan does not always own the final product, but Japan is often somewhere inside the system that makes the final product possible. And that is why this country matters. To understand Japan, you have to start with the impossible comeback after World War II. Japan was broken, cities were destroyed. Industry was damaged, the economy was weak. The country had to rebuild almost from nothing, and here is the strange part, that weakness became the foundation of Japan's strength. Because Japan could not rely on oil, land, or empire, it had to rely on discipline, engineering, education, manufacturing, and precision. In other words, Japan had to become good at making things better than almost anyone else, not bigger, better. That is the Japanese model. Take something ordinary and improve it until the world cannot ignore it. Cars already existed, Japan made them reliable. Electronics already existed, Japan made them smaller and sharper. Trains already existed, Japan made them faster and cleaner. Animation already existed, Japan turned it into a global culture machine. Factories already existed, Japan filled them with robots and systems. This is how Japan became powerful. Not by shouting, by perfecting. The first big example is cars. There was a time when American cars dominated the world. Big engines, big roads, big companies. Then Japanese automakers entered the market with a different promise. Reliability. Toyota, Honda, Nissan, Mazda, Subaru, Mitsubishi. They did not just sell cars. They sold trust. A Toyota Corolla was not supposed to look like a dream car. It was supposed to start every morning, and that simple promise changed the global auto industry. Japan forced the world to care about efficiency, quality control, lean production, and long-term reliability. The Toyota production system became one of the most influential manufacturing philosophies in history. Factories around the world copied it. Companies outside the car industry studied it. Because Japan had figured out something deeper than cars, it had figured out how to reduce waste, improve quality, and make complex systems repeatable. That is not just manufacturing, that is power. Today, Toyota remains one of the most important automakers on Earth. And while many companies chased fully electric cars, Japan took a different path. Hybrids. For years, people mocked hybrids as boring. But then the world realized something. Not everyone can immediately switch to electric. Charging infrastructure is not ready everywhere. Battery supply chains are complicated. Consumers want efficiency without changing their entire life. And suddenly Toyota's boring hybrid strategy started looking much smarter. That is Japan again, not always loud, not always trendy, but patient, practical. Hard to replace. Then there is robotics. When people imagine the future, they often imagine humanoid robots walking through cities. But the robots that already changed the world are not always shaped like people. They are factory robots, industrial arms, precision machines. Silent systems that weld, cut, paint, assemble, and move parts faster and more accurately than humans can. And Japan became one of the world's robot capitals. Companies like Fanuc, Yaskawa, Kawasaki, and Mitsubishi Electric helped build the robotic backbone of global manufacturing. Cars, electronics, machines, medical devices, warehouses. If modern factories are becoming more automated, Japan is already there. And the reason is not only technology, it is demographics. Japan is one of the oldest societies on Earth. Its population is aging. Its workforce is shrinking, and that sounds like a disaster, but Japan has a habit of turning national problems into global products. If you have fewer workers, you need automation. If you have more elderly people, you need medical technology, care systems, assistive devices, and smarter infrastructure. If your country has earthquakes, you need resilient buildings, warning systems, and engineering discipline. Japan's problems forced it to build tools that the rest of the world may need later. Because the whole developed world is aging. Europe is aging. South Korea is aging. China is aging. Even America will face huge elder care and labor challenges. Japan is not just dealing with the future. Japan is living in it early. That is why Japan matters. It is like a preview of problems other countries will face later, and sometimes the country that suffers the problem first becomes the country that sells the solution. Now look at electronics and entertainment. For decades, Japan shaped how the world played, listened, watched, and imagined. Sony changed music, cameras, televisions, and gaming. Nintendo changed childhood for hundreds of millions of people. PlayStation became one of the most powerful entertainment platforms ever created. Canon and Nikon shaped photography. Panasonic, Sharp, Toshiba, Hitachi. These names became part of the global electronics age. And then there is anime. This is where Japan's soft power becomes almost ridiculous, because Japan does not only export machines. It exports worlds. Pokemon. Dragon Ball, Naruto, One Piece, Demon Slayer, Studio Ghibli, Attack on Titan, Final Fantasy, Mario, Zelda. These are not just shows or games. They are cultural infrastructure. They shape fashion, music, memes, childhood memories, conventions, toys, streaming platforms, and online communities across the world. American kids grow up knowing Japanese characters. European teenagers wear Japanese streetwear. Brazilian fans fill stadiums for anime music. TikTok edits use Japanese stories. Hollywood borrows Japanese visual language. That is power too. Not military power, emotional power. Japan became one of the few countries on Earth that can make people love a fictional universe so much they build part of their identity around it. And that influence lasts for decades, but the deepest Japanese power is not the one people see. It is the one hidden inside global supply chains. Japan is crucial in semiconductor materials and manufacturing equipment. The world talks about Taiwan because Taiwan manufactures many of the most advanced chips. The world talks about America because America designs many of the most famous chips. But behind chip making are materials, chemicals, wafers, tools, precision parts, and manufacturing knowledge, and Japan is extremely important there. Photoresists, silicon wafers, coder developers, specialty chemicals, precision, equipment, testing tools. These are not sexy words, but without them, the digital world does not work. A chip is not just designed and magically printed. It requires thousands of steps and an entire ecosystem of ultra-specialized suppliers, and Japan is one of the countries that owns key pieces of that ecosystem. This is why Japan's power is so easy to miss. A Japanese company might not be the brand on your phone, but it may make the material that allowed the chip inside the phone to exist. That is invisible power. the kind of power that does not trend on Instagram. But when it disappears, factories stop, and this is the pattern again. Japan often controls the layer below the famous layer. America gets the app, Taiwan gets the chip, factory, China gets the assembly, but Japan may be supplying the precision material, robot, sensor, lens, chemical, or tool that lets the system function. That is why Japan is not just a country of old traditions and neon streets, it is one of the hidden engines of modern life. Now, Japan is not perfect. The country has serious problems. Its population is shrinking, its economy has struggled with slow growth for decades, its work culture can be exhausting. Its politics can move slowly. Its companies sometimes become too conservative, its tech giants lost battles they once dominated. Japan had Sony, but America got the iPhone. Japan had electronics, but South Korea rose in displays and memory chips. Japan had early internet culture, but Silicon Valley captured the platform economy. So this is not a simple story of endless success. Japan missed some waves, but here is the important part. Japan did not disappear. It moved deeper into the machine. When countries lose consumer attention, they often become irrelevant. Japan did something else. It became embedded in robotics, in automotive systems, in materials, in precision manufacturing, in entertainment IP, in cameras and sensors, in medical technology, in industrial equipment. Japan no longer needs to be the logo on every product, it can be the reason the product works. And that may be even harder to replace. This is why Japan's future is interesting. The next world will need exactly the things Japan is good at: automation, robotics, advanced materials, elder care technology, reliable manufacturing, battery, innovation, efficient transport, precision machines, cultural exports. A world with fewer workers needs robots. A world with more old people needs care technology. A world with AI needs data centers, sensors, chips, energy systems, and cooling. A world with climate pressure needs efficient transport and better batteries. A world drowning in cheap content still needs stories that people actually care about. Japan is positioned strangely well for that future. Not because everything is going perfectly, but because its strengths match the problems ahead, and that is the real point. Japan is not trying to control the world in the old way. It is not building a global empire. It is not shouting at every summit. It is not trying to become the loudest country on social media. Japan's power is quieter. It sits in factories, in patents, in habits, in trust, in culture, in systems so precise that most people never notice them, and maybe that is why Japan is so fascinating. It is one of the few countries where the past and future feel like they live on the same street, a temple next to a vending machine, a monk walking past a robot, a 400-year-old tradition next to a bullet train, a paper lantern glowing under a skyscraper, a country that looks ancient and futuristic at the same time. That contrast is Japan. And it is also the reason the country keeps mattering, because Japan does not simply chase the future, it absorbs it, refines it, and makes it feel precise. So when people ask how Japan quietly controls the future of the world, the answer is not one thing. It is not just Toyota, not just robots, not just Sony, not just Nintendo, not just anime, not just semiconductors. It is the combination. Japan became powerful by mastering the hidden layers of modern life, the machines that build machines, the systems that make systems reliable, the culture that travels farther than borders, the details that everyone else depends on but almost nobody thinks about. That is Japan, a country that lost everything, rebuilt itself, and then quietly placed itself inside the future, not as the loudest empire, but as one of the most important engines behind the world we are all Walking into